Rich from Earth Healing, and we are having a YouTube now, and part of the series is How To, and we're talking about how to address the needs of Appalachia through photography. And we have with us one of the best persons that can do that, Warren Brunner from Berea, Kentucky. And Warren has actually got a long history that goes back to Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty, and he was part of that at that time. Welcome, Warren.
Well, thank you. Lots of people don't remember what the War on Poverty was, but at that time I wore about 3 different hats. I had a studio, and then I did crying babies and weddings and brides and all kinds of stuff, and then the War on Poverty came to Berea, and it headquartered part of it in Berea. And I started taking photographs for the Appalachian Volunteers. Then I photographed the Vista. And all in all, I photographed pictures for about 30 different government agencies at that time. And so that led me into the mountains and to meet the people. One of the secrets of working with people is that I never went out alone, and there was always somebody with me, either another lady or a man, that knew the people and knew why we were there, and we were there for a purpose to show the needs of the people. And so that they knew what was coming, and there were no surprises. And a lot of times after the war was over, I went back into Appalachia and started photographing the beauty of Appalachia rather than the needs of Appalachia. So I had 2 sets of photographs. One's of beautiful sceneries, and then one's of the families. A lot of times I took my wife and kids with me, and my kids would play with their kids, and then eventually, after we played a while, had something to eat, I'd bring out the cameras and say, well, would you mind if I took a few pictures? So that was how we introduced ourselves to the people. And eventually, after the War on Poverty, I went back and took pictures of the families again because they became our friends. And then after that, we actually brought pictures back to the people and gave them to the people that we photographed.
One thing, Warren, is you never took a demeaning picture. Everything was always of the beauty and nobility of people. It's not what they call photo porn now.
Yeah.
It was none of that. It was always this other, and you did that all your life. That was your principle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Never to show poverty in its worst form, but to show the nobility of people who were poor people.
And another thing, all the people lived around Berea, and I still see some of them, and I still go back and visit some of them. So there was a relationship there that you didn't come in and shoot and leave. They were people that had actually lived and worked with. A lot of the pictures were made just 5 or 10 miles from Berea.
Well, you had a lot of examples that you could give, and you went to the right hollers and creek beds to find them, didn't you?
Yeah. Somebody said, how do you find all those places? I said, after every Sunday afternoon, we had an old Jeep, and we'd get in it, and we'd go on a road we'd never been on before, and we'd go to the end. And sometimes we even get out and walk.
Always hunting for isolated places and places where people were living and enjoying life in their own way, and you were able to show that.
And they invited us in for dinner, and then we'd go back and see them. And
you always have a rapport with people that you take pictures with. You never come upon them suddenly, do you?
No.
Well, it's real good the way you've done this, and I hope that others will follow that example because your pictures stand out in many ways.
After we went back, I photographed all the people in this valley for 50 years. And so we did a book of the 50-year collections of the families that lived on this one road. And we put them in a little book, and I went back and I gave the head of each family a book. And one of the ladies cried, and she says, you know, we didn't have cameras back then, and our family couldn't afford that. and she just cried. She saw family members that were deceased, and they were just so happy to have it, and I'm glad I could share it with them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not only that you take pictures, but you also share pictures with others.
Yeah.
I showed one of the books that you have, or what we have really, Mountain Moments, and a person said, "Oh, that's my aunt," and she was so pleased to see this picture in our books at that time. And so, really, you have had a history that goes way back, almost half a century.
Well, 1954.
54 is more than a half a century.
Yeah.
It's over 60 years.
This is a coffee table book that Al Frisch and I did together, and it was published by McLean Press. And it's all the beautiful pictures of Appalachia.
Very beautiful picture.
And along with the words by Al and photographs by Warren.
Yes.
And then one of the most important books I did with Loyal Jones, and it was called Appalachian Values. And that was where he speaks of the values of the Appalachian people. And so we did that book together. And then Al and I did another book called Appalachian Sensations, A Journey Through the Seasons. And these are all the 4 seasons and all the things about the smell, all the months of the year.
The 5 senses taken from January to December, 60 of those.
Yeah. And then I had another unique experience with Deborah McCauley. She was working on her doctorate on Appalachian mountain religion. And she did her doctorate, and then the University of Tennessee wanted to publish a photo book of all the churches we visited. They're all Holiness and Pentecostal. And this is the other book that had the 50 years of the families that lived in this one valley. And this is the book I went back and gave the head of each family one of these books. And it goes back, the people in this family, they see themselves as babies, and now they're adults and grandparents. So I had a lot of fun doing that.
He has a lot of history all tied up in the books that he has done.
And they're all available.
And they're all available on Amazon. I'll go to the titles. We have Red Lick Memories, we have Mountain Holiness, Mountain Moments, and also Appalachian Sensations. All of these 5, along with others that he has, that are available through Amazon.